live, up and down the coast, from the beaches to the valleys. At 6:30, this is KEYT News Channel 3, where the news comes first.
Welcome back. I'm CJ Ward.
And I'm Beth Farnsworth. Ortega Park in the city's east side has long been associated with vagrancy and criminal activity.
But tonight, community leaders hope to address some of the issues facing the park. And News Channel 3's Casey Drescher joins us live from Santa Barbara Junior High School, where a community meeting just got underway. Casey.
That's right, and believe it or not, Ortega Park has not seen a major overhaul since the 1930s, so improvements are desperately needed. There's a steady stream of folks trickling into the meeting, and Parks and Rec officials say they really want to enhance security around the park so they can create a safe place for the community that works now and into the future. Folks we talked to utilizing the pool at Ortega earlier today say issues with homelessness improved slightly when the park benches were removed, but they still see drug use around the park. Simply put, Parks and Rec officials say the park just doesn't function for today, and as the population grows on this side of town and with being next to a junior high, improvements are needed.
Part of this process is it's transparent, so we're really asking the residents, the neighbors, the current park users to come in and give us their ideas. So some of the things that have resonated that will show up in tonight's presentation is considering synthetic sport turf versus regular turf, ways to improve circulation and security in the park.
Officials are proposing enhancements to the pool, skate park, and the athletic fields around this area. And folks I've talked to that are trickling into the meeting say they're really excited to see these digital mock-ups, see these ideas kind of pen to paper, see what those will look like, and we'll bring you what they're going to look like and what people are saying about these proposals, and a full story coming up later tonight. Live in Santa Barbara, I'm Casey Drescher, News Channel 3.
All right, thank you for that, Casey. As President Donald Trump visited the United Kingdom, protesters were out in multiple locations. Protesters were outside of Blenheim Palace today as the motorcade went by. At a singing protest in Oxfordshire, a small group sang, "His travel bans cause chaos." The protests went worldwide.
And check out this dramatic body cam footage. It shows a Texas police officer nearly being hit by a car last week. The video shows the officer jumping over a highway guardrail to get away. Authorities say it happened as the officer was just completing a traffic stop. Now, luckily, nobody was seriously hurt.
You can see workers running as a silo holding soybeans collapsed. This happened in Paraguay. The workers were near the silo when they realized that something was not right. They managed to save their lives before tons of soybeans fell and that entire structure crumbled.
Stormy Daniels' lawyer says the charges against his client have been dropped. Police arrested the adult film star last night during a performance at an Ohio strip club. Meg Oliver has more on that.
Less than a day after police in Columbus, Ohio took Stormy Daniels to jail in handcuffs, she is a free woman. Her lawyer, Michael Avenatti, tweeted Thursday, "I am pleased to report that the charges against my client have been dismissed in their entirety." The adult film star was performing at a local strip club when she was arrested. She was charged with 3 misdemeanors. According to the original complaint, she touched patrons in the club. It is illegal in Ohio for nude or semi-nude dancers to touch non-family members. Clifford's attorney, Michael Avenatti, says it was a setup.
She absolutely was targeted, and I agree with her, and I think that this has just empowered her more to see this litigation through to conclusion.
Columbus police say they made 3 arrests at the club overnight as part of a long-term investigation into allegations of human trafficking and prostitution. The police chief says arresting Daniels was a mistake and that she takes full responsibility. Daniels, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, is suing President Trump and his former lawyer, Michael Cohen. She claims she had a sexual relationship with the billionaire businessman in 2006 and was paid to keep quiet about it in the days leading up to the 2016 election. Meg Oliver, New York.
Well, there is perhaps no more impressive or majestic symbol of the American presidency than Air Force One.
And President Trump believes the next generation of the aircraft needs some changes, including a new color scheme.
And hi again, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Alan Rose. Back to the 80s today in Santa Barbara and back to that muggy tropical weather. Things are changing, though, and just in time for the weekend. Stay tuned. I'll have your full forecast when we come back.
Live, Beth Farnsworth, CJ Ward, Senior Reporter John Parliamentary, Chief Meteorologist Alan Rose, and Mike Clan Sports. This is News Channel 3 at 6:30.
Take a look at this. Weather so extreme that a road buckled under the heat this week. This happened in Denver. You can see cars driving over the distorted road. Temperatures in the Denver area have been around 90 degrees. I'm surprised this isn't happening all over the West, to be honest.
Oh, we've seen them melt in Phoenix. Well, you might have to take an alternate route if you're headed to Big Bear. Multiple mudslides have shut down part of Highway 18 in San Bernardino County. The road is closed between Big Bear Lake and Lucerne Valley right now. Fortunately, nobody's been hurt. Crews are trying to clean everything up and get that highway back open, but at this point, they don't know when that will happen.
I just saw a friend golfing in the rain in Big Bear. Maybe that explains it. She's stuck.
Courtney, right?
That's right.
Former KEYT producer, yeah. I was seeing the video too, and they said they were out boating yesterday, and that's when they saw the severe weather yesterday. Today, just some heavy rain in that area. And for us, you know, we said this yesterday, if we're going to get the tropical clouds and the tropical air mass,
let's get the rain,
let's
right?
get the rain.
Yes.
I mean, it cooled things down a bit, but no such luck. As we transition from, you know, drier summer conditions to winter in our rainy season, things will change, of course. But for now, the drought looks about the same on the drought monitor as what we saw back in March and April. Typically in our summer months, this drought monitor doesn't change that much because we don't normally see a lot of rain. So we remain under a severe drought around Santa Barbara, Ventura, and Oxnard, also up the coast towards Santa Maria and San Luis Obispo. As promised, here's a look at this El Nino update. El Nino watch does remain in effect for the northern hemisphere for the upcoming winter. And now we're up to about a 65% chance that El Nino conditions will develop here in Southern California and Central California by the fall. And that goes up to 70% this winter. Now, the El Nino signature appears to be weak for now. And I've looked at some of these 90-day outlooks by the Climate Prediction Center. I'll try to show you a few of those coming up tonight at 11. But basically, they're showing a slight chance of above average rainfall for Southern California. For us, pretty much an equal chance that will be above average or below. And that's pretty common with weak El Ninos. Now, when the signature is stronger, that does tilt the pendulum a bit towards above average rainfall, at least the chance of it. So something we'll continue to watch as we look at the current conditions outside. You can see a lot of rain out there tonight, mostly north of us. Last night, it was really active down across the deserts in the Inland Empire in Southern California. We did see some sprinkles this morning locally, but things have really quieted down since then. And I think as the moisture moves east overnight tonight, we will see areas of clouds and fog, more of a marine layer pattern out there tomorrow morning. So some gray conditions early, but mostly sunny skies to follow on Friday afternoon. And really overall, it's going to be a nice end to the work week. If you're planning out your dinner hour tonight, maybe you're eating at 7 o'clock, you want to eat outside, we'll still be in the 70s in Santa Barbara. Tonight at 11 o'clock down to the upper 60s, mid 60s in the morning hours, and then back up to 80 pretty quickly by noon tomorrow. Still a lot of humidity out there to our east and through tonight, but I think as we head towards the weekend, high pressure builds into the Golden State, and that really shuts off the pipeline of moisture. As it builds west, it's also going to bring in some hot temps back to the valleys. Overall, though, we're going to see a wide range of temperatures. Some of the coastal areas probably stuck in the 60s or low 70s, whereas farther inland and even for the south coast, we'll likely see 80s through the weekend. Valleys ranging from the upper 80s to near triple digits. If you're heading out to the Santa Barbara County Fair, it's going all the way through Sunday. Started yesterday out there. I'm looking at Saturday's forecast in Santa Maria. It'll be nice and warm through the weekend with temps here in the upper 70s as we head towards Saturday. Tomorrow's Friday. We'll see 70s in Goleta and Carpinteria, 80s around Santa Barbara and Montecito. Back up to 90 in Santa Ynez, 88 for Buellton, 80 across the Gaviota coastline, 73 in Arroyo Grande, 63 Morro Bay, but all the way up to 95 in Paso. So that sort of shows you what I was talking about, that we will see that wide range of temperatures from beaches to the inland valleys. 95 in Ojai and 90 in Santa Paula. Looking at the Santa Barbara Channel marine forecast, again, a lot of high tide action here the next few nights, including tomorrow night. Coastal flood advisory is in effect for the coastline, Santa Barbara southward through the weekend. So just be careful if you're heading out there to do some late night beach walks. That's when the coastal flood threat will be at the peak. Santa Barbara 7-day forecast back on land. We see low 80s here through the weekend. A little bit cooler, I think, early next week, but really with high pressure not moving much across the west coast, temperatures aren't going to change day to day. Now we will see a variety between the valleys and the coastal areas, but many spots really not maybe moving more than a few degrees here or there over the next 7 days.
This is the pattern.
It's a pattern,
Okay.
and it's going to be a little bit muggy still, but not as bad as what we saw.
Okay, good.
Yes,
All right,
better.
thanks,
Thank you.
Alan. Well, the Toys R Us mascot starts a second career.
Jane King is at the NASDAQ with that story and more in tonight's business update. Plus, a Canadian woman couldn't figure out what was happening to all of her tomatoes until she reviewed her security footage. We'll show you what she saw coming up.
There's a big clue.
All right, we have some breaking news for you. Pacific Coast Highway is shut down right now at Magoo Rock. Now you're looking at a live picture. If they zoom in here, you will see two vehicles. One is flipped over, is on the shoulder of the highway. Another one is flipped over and is down along the shoreline. Two men were ejected. They are alive at this point. 3 pedestrians were hurt as well. And then one person was in the vehicle that ended up in the ocean, or right along the rock line and the shoreline there. That person got out as well. At this point, though, they do not know if somebody is still in the overturned car that's down in the water. That's 50 feet below the roadway. So we're going to keep an eye on the situation there. Again, Highway 1 at Magoo Rock is shut down for this accident.
Turning now to politics, President Donald Trump wants to redesign Air Force One. An official says that the president wants to add more red to the presidential aircraft that could be included on the iconic blue and white plane. The official says no final decision has yet been made and insists that an illustration published by the Axios news site does not reflect current discussions.
A health alert now. California is struggling with a shortage of mental health professionals. The number is expected to keep declining for the next 10 years. So why not just hire more people? Well, the federal government does not consider a community to be in a shortage unless there's one therapist for every 30,000 people. Psychology professor Sabrina Rock says those numbers just don't add up.
And I thought, how many patients, clients, could a psychiatrist see in a day, in a week, in a year? How many could they have ongoing treatment with? And in a population of 30,000, how many would actually need treatment? What percentage of that population would need treatment? And do those numbers match up? They don't. It isn't possible to treat that population.
And coming up on News Channel 3 at 11 o'clock, Rock shares what communities can do to help during this crisis and how Allen Hancock College is helping psychology students navigate their way to becoming future mental health professionals.
In business news tonight, Disney could become an even bigger box office giant, and the Toys R Us mascot starts a second career. Here's Jane King.
Disney is already the king of the box office, and if the company's $71 billion deal for most of 21st Century Fox goes through, it will add even more big-name franchises, including Deadpool, the X-Men, and Avatar to its roster. A senior analyst at FBR Capital Markets says Disney, if it merges with 21st Century Fox, would control 40% of the U.S. box office. Jobless claims were 214,000 last week versus 225,000 expected. Weekly unemployment claims remain at multi-decade lows. Airbnb rentals help local economies by driving restaurant traffic and employment in a handful of U.S. cities, but not in predominantly Black or Hispanic neighborhoods. That's according to a study from Purdue University. Now, the findings run counter to Airbnb's longtime claim that home hosting in diverse neighborhoods does bring in tourists. Airbnb calls the study deeply flawed. JetBlue planes will soon have a bigger overhead bin. The planes will also have bigger windows and more seats. Those planes will start flying at JetBlue in 2020. And Jeffrey the giraffe, the Toys R Us mascot, has a new home. He'll now be housed at Bristol-Myers Squibb Children's Hospital at Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital. From the NASDAQ, I'm Jane King with your business update.
Good job for him.
It is, yeah.
Well, when a couple's homegrown tomatoes started disappearing, they suspected a squirrel was to blame.
Then they watched security camera footage and caught the culprit red-handed. Turned out it was the mailman. There he is. He'd been helping himself to their tomatoes as he dropped off their mail. The camera even caught him taking the neighbor's strawberries. The owner of the house wants the mailman to drop off tomato sauce or strawberry pie to pay them back.
this dramatic footage coming from South Mexico City of a section of a luxury shopping center collapsing. Luckily, nobody hurt, nobody killed.
Can you kind of tell what that is? That is Smash Mouth rocking the Santa Barbara County Fair last night, singing their classic hit All Star on our sister station's KCOI 12's main stage. The fair will run through this Sunday at the Santa Maria Fair Park.
And close your eyes just for a second. You kind of sort of see Shrek,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's right. Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's step outside, see what it looks like now. There's a beautiful shot up and down the coast. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, we have an update on a breaking news story. This is just a terrible accident on the Pacific Coast Highway right at Magoo Rock. Two vehicles involved. One has flipped over on the highway. Another has flipped over and is now down along the water line.
And we don't know if there's another person inside the vehicle in the water. We do know that at least one person made their way out. We do know that 3 pedestrians were hit. This is according to the CHP website. And at least another person, 2 more people ejected, CJ. Just trying to get the very latest. But this is a really major bad accident. Again, this is on PCH at Magoo Rock.
And apparently the 2 men that were ejected were alive at last report. And no update on the pedestrians. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on the situation there at Magoo Rock.
Unbelievable.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back at 11.
Have a good night.